story about two
teams.
They competed for the same
championship.
One was white, the other black. One liked to talk a lot.
You said, uh-huh.
The other was shy as a 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Our story is about how they came to know each other, fight each other.
I'm gonna whip you.
Michigan.
But you gotta be at your best.
And help each other.
I think I owe you a beer.
I owe you a lot more than that.
Yeah.
You asked it around, you put it around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You are qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal, ML Elric. Wondering what happened to my intro about Sweet Home Alabama. That
was terrible.
It was heretical because it mentioned the words Jim Harbaugh and Connor Stalions in the same segment. So
from a production standpoint, from a production standpoint, you wanted me to eliminate every word in the voiceover and have me do it. It didn't work. I tried it. I spent 2 hours on it.
I love your dulcet tones. I thought that
2 hours I'll never get back.
You're a magic man who could make anything happen, a production wizard. You're like the less lethal Phil Spector with better hair and, of course, sterling calves.
I was. Please don't forget the calves.
I beat you to the punch. I had to get it in there because I know
not a piece of meat.
We'd have a long digression there, but anyways, we will be talking about a team that deserved to be in the college football playoff and didn't make it, and perhaps a team that didn't deserve to be in the college football team playoff that did make it. And when we fill in those blanks and put proper nouns in where the pronouns are, it should get very exciting. And one of the reasons why is because we're joined here. Shawn Windsor's in studio again. It's great to have him no longer using his car as a rolling brothel. So that's great.
Missed that part.
Yeah, no, believe me. Hey, did you leave your jacket in Shawn's car? Because we were trying to figure out. It had a DW initial on it. But
I was in a rental car in L.A. a few weeks ago, and I was at dinner. I came back, and I opened up the rental car, and there was a jacket in the back seat. Somebody broke it in the car and left a jacket in the back seat. And the friend I was with, we were in Venice, said, well, people use cars to turn tricks. So.
Oh. There it was. Maybe
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It was not me. I wasn't in L.A. It was like that Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David, he wanted to be in the HOV lane, so he hired, because he's late for the Dodger game, so he hired the prostitute to ride with him.
And
so
then they go to his dad's house and get high.
Yeah. It just went from there. But
Now, the best part about that episode, do you know the story that it helped solve murder? Or
somebody was in the crowd.
In the crowd. There's a whole documentary about it, and Larry and Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think it actually got him acquitted of a murder because it showed that he was there.
He said he was there,
Yeah.
and he had no proof because he'd thrown his ticket away. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a fascinating
Sure,
story.
this is really the plot of the show rundown.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it shut him up for a while.
Super Dave Osborne, was he cleared?
I was just going to say. He was quiet for, what was that, a minute and a half?
Yeah.
That was great. And no Kilpatrick. That was fucking perfect.
I'm glad we got the language spiced up a little
HOV
bit.
lanes
Thanks,
coming
kids,
to
for
Detroit.
listening.
So people have to plot this out.
They're here, yeah.
Yeah, that could just be. You could just be
seriously,
HOV rider. That could be a new job.
Shawn got rid of the jacket before the blacklight investigation was completed, and he says it's because he didn't know whose jacket it was, but I think it's just because he doesn't wear members only anymore, and it didn't fit, so he had to get rid of it. And that's fine. That's fine.
There's a green leather jacket, yeah.
Yeah, it said "beat it" on the inside of it, and the initials MT were in there. But we'll talk about other college football scandals later on. But speaking of traffic stops, wait! Before we get to traffic stops, stop the show.
What?
Needle scratch sound.
What?
We want to thank our sole sponsor, Luke Nowacki of Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, who is supporting all the shows here on the Red Shovel Network. And we will tell you a little later on how Luke can help you make your future something to look forward to, how he can give you some advice that you need to make smart choices so that when you get to be our age, you're not worried about how much it's going to cost to get a tooth extracted, which I just found out on my way over here. So not very happy about that, but sucks getting old. Right, Shawn?
Sell one of your 10 cars.
Oh, yeah, because I'm like Jay Leno. I drove over here in a 2007 Ford Focus with 154,000 miles on it. So, yes, I am I have a fleet of luxurious vehicles, all suitable for.
Well, the Riviera's got to be worth
pushing.
something.
I don't know. It's off the road for the winter. It's being curated in a backyard near you. I want to tell you about this crazy. Speaking of police and exoneration, so actually, this crazy story actually works for one of the things I wanted to tell you about, and we will get to a Kilpatrick story before Shawn explodes. But there's this federal lawsuit that's been filed by a Lapeer man against the Warren police. Has everybody here been stopped by the cops before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody ever question about what you have in the vehicle, or have you been drinking or doing anything like that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Right to remain silent on that.
Yeah, okay. But, Dan looks like a man who knows what stupid human tricks means. If you've ever been on the side of the road trying to balance yourself or count backwards, very tense moments. But this Lapeer guy says he got stopped by Warren cops, who then searched his car, or the car he was traveling, and found a rock of crack cocaine in there. So that's a problem. So that's going to be a tough night. Well, when he's in the back seat of what he says is his family vehicle, some kind of family traveling with crack rock, that's fine, whatever, we're not here to judge. But the cops decide, well, you know what? We need you to get out, and we're going to have to see your paperwork and all of this stuff. And then, according to this Lapeer man, an officer put on blue gloves, never a good sign, ordered him to spread his legs and just be quiet.
What?
Yes. He was then further ordered, George Hunter of the Detroit News reports, to assume a standing position to initiate an illegal roadside body cavity search.
Oh, my God.
As if there was such a thing as a legal roadside body cavity search. Wells, who's the police officer who's accused, proceeded to pull down and reach into the Lapeer man's sweatpants, reach down and reach into his underwear, grabbing his buttocks, and then forcefully inserted his fingers into the plaintiff's anus.
What did he find?
Well, here's the interesting part. Following the search, the officers drove away without making an arrest or eye contact. Because that kind of thing is a little uncomfortable. And they also did not call him the next day. When they bumped into him in the break room at work, they just pretended like it never happened. So.
Totally unfair, because you need a couple drinks for that to happen.
Well,
and then you're arrested.
I do not want to see the body cam of that arrest either.
No, I know. I'm like, it's winter, so you're not even sweating. You get rubber gloves, which tend to have some friction on them, and then there's no.
That's what you're worried about?
Deep dive.
Well, I'm just saying that this is
the comfort of it.
This is not,
No, if there's some lube, it doesn't hurt nearly as much. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Anybody who's ever had their prostate checked.
Come on, you want the doc shoving a
grateful
dry
for
rubber glove up there?
Lube and
That's a
doctors with
professional.
small hands.
Or do you want?
I don't want any officer doing it.
Or you want it oiled up a little bit?
Yeah, so I think we've all had traffic stops, but nothing quite like this
Male
one.
officer or female officer?
I believe it was a male officer, but are we getting into some sort of
I don't know.
personal preferences? Yeah. So if you're driving through Warren with crack in your car,
Wait, they already found the crack? Before that?
well, they found one before they found the other.
So they didn't arrest him even though he had crack?
That's what I was
They
getting
drove
at.
away. It's just
And the
like
guy
this.
admitted to the newspaper?
Well, this isn't a federal lawsuit, so I think he's trying to make his case. But the police commissioner in Warren, Bill Dwyer, who has been in police work so long that I attended his retirement from the Farmington Hills Police Department like 15 years ago, said he couldn't discuss the case in detail. He can confirm there was a traffic stop for an improper plate and that this guy from Lapeer had an outstanding warrant. And he says there was no arrest, but that's not unusual. So just in case this is a new policy that they're practicing in Warren, drive the speed limit, have your paperwork with you, don't run yellow lights, just be careful. So
Have you guys ever been pulled over with something in the car that shouldn't have been there?
No, but I'd love to hear your story of
okay,
this.
green leather jackets and divine brown.
No, I wasn't.
What are you trafficking?
Like a
No,
body?
no,
or
no.
something?
I was in a long blue van one time with no windows in northern Mississippi, just south of Memphis, with my brother, just graduated from Texas A&M, and we picked up a friend in Austin on the way, and we didn't realize it at the time, but he had a couple of suitcases. He probably had 4 or 5 pounds of pot. We called it pot back then. And we got pulled over. And
4 or 5 pounds? That's major weight.
No. It was in a few suitcases. Well, he was making his living. The guys ended up having a great career in marketing and all that. But no, we got pulled over, and we were nervous, but they didn't.
But you guys were white, so nobody.
And we had like a dorm room full of shit stacked up in the van.
No,
so.
you're fine.
But still, you can imagine getting pulled over in those days with that kind of pot.
They would have given you like 25 years.
Yeah, they would have.
How fast were you going? I mean, that's kind of where I drive the speed limit. If
I don't remember why we got pulled over. Not very fast. Maybe 5 miles over. But anyway.
Do you remember the Michigan State?
We were lucky,
man. Yeah,
we were very lucky.
Spartan basketball player that got pulled over with a bunch of drugs in his car 20 years or so ago, and then I think he ended up doing like serious time in prison.
Derek Nix got pulled over with a joint or something, didn't he? Remember him?
Remember when we used to like ruin dudes' careers over that?
Over weed.
Yeah.
There's half a smoked joint in the ashtray. That's
Didn't a Michigan football player get caught with some weed? Was it Marlon, cornerback maybe? Marlon Jackson?
Marlon Jackson?
And I'll never forget Lloyd Carr going off at a press conference because it was what you're saying, Dan. Yeah.
I think Rick Leach's backup got thrown off the team because he lived in a house with a bunch of potheads, and Bo didn't want him living there anymore. DJ something. What was the understudy for Rick Leach back then?
I don't know. I was 3.
God, I was a Michigan fan, so it was a long time ago. But I remember he had some brush with people who may have partaken in the hippie lettuce, and Bo was like, "No way! You can violate my players, but do not."
No,
get
it's
high
true.
Afterwards.
One of my brother-in-laws used to sell weed to one of Bo's sons.
Shemmy?
Well, I mean, come on, man. We have a guess, right?
Number one suspect.
And he was told not to go over to the house. This is my in-law's house, actually, because my brother-in-law was a teenager at the time, and would you'd get a free backpack if you bought a certain amount. If you bought even more, you'd get a free triple beam. So that he had like the blue plate special.
Remember the fun days of Michigan football scandals when it involved hiring Shemmy Schembachler and his bad likes on Twitter? Like, that wasn't that long ago. That was in this year. Wasn't that this calendar year?
So you don't think the cheating's been fun, is what you're saying?
Oh, I think this has been the most enjoyable college football season of my life. Period.
Tell that to Coach Partridge.
It has been so entertaining.
He's not getting his ring.
Plus, my team's number 1, so that helps.
Okay.
You don't think it's okay? I'll ask Dan. Do you think this has been a fun? Because you don't really have a
For
dog.
For me, it's been great.
Exactly. It's
a lot to write
if you
about.
like
but every
sport,
year, there's some circus that just came to Michigan this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been,
Michigan
been controversial. Yeah, I'm a media vulture. I just want.
Yeah, it's been entertaining.
Whatever's good for business.
People, it's America's favorite sport, controversy.
Yeah.
Right?
I will say I never thought we'd
business?
talk about Michigan football that much on this podcast, but because of this season, we certainly have, and it almost feels like we're not talking about sports. We're talking about criminal justice. I mean,
don't say that because are there really any victims?
There's 131 other Division I college football teams whose illusions were shattered.
Without
that
sin.
The leaders in best were truly leading and being best instead of being scroungy little cheaters who somehow finagled their way into number 1 ranking.
Yeah, what a huge advantage.
They never could have got there without cheating. That's the shame of it. This is a great team, and the shithead coach has made him look like a bunch of rats. But that's cool. That's all right. That's your guy.
Put
that Gatorade on some cereal, and you're good to go.
Spoken like a true Sparty.
So, spoken like many other football figures. I mean, I'm not a football figure, but many other people who enjoy the game. So let's get to another liar, just because I said we have to talk about it, and Shawn's got to get this. He's got to vent his spleen before we can get to Dan Wetzel. Yeah, he's venting all sorts of different goiters here.
Well, we're getting to.
We're Kwame. We got to do some Kwame.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So-
yeah. Sorry, Dan.
I
if I
can't
stepped
be
on
the
your
only
open-
person who got up early to listen to Kwame Kilpatrick on the Guy Gordon show yesterday.
You are, yeah.
Oh, I am?
What happened?
Oh, damn. Well, as one might expect, he went on there and he was absolutely charming and avuncular and had them eating out of the
Avuncular.
palm of his hand. And he
Better than
absolutely
inane
did what he
or inanity.
does, which is lie. over and over again. And as you may recall from my column about Kilpatrick's failure to make restitution, when he says he's a changed man, he talked about, no, I pay restitution every month.
What?
And somebody on the show said, what, like, oh, well, you better hurry up. It's the 5th of the month. He's like, I don't wait till the 5th. I pay it on the 1st.
But there's does he owe? Like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Well, it depends
like
who you
$10
ask.
a month for.
Yeah, he owes the city of Detroit like $800,000. He owes the SEC hundreds of thousands. He's got a judgment against him by a black contract for $7 million. Different SEC, Shawn, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. And then he owes a bunch on his public corruption case. And he's like, yeah, no, there was no corruption proven. They said I owed $4 million. They couldn't justify it. Then they said I owed $1 million.
So Kilpatrick is corrupt?
All for one contract. No, the point is, Shawn, which is why we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, is that he just keeps lying, and he's coming back here, and he's trying to pull his old game again. And so I'm just saying, be ready, be on your guard, because this dude has not changed at all. And this weekend, I'll be writing about somebody, I anticipate writing about somebody who also owes the city of Detroit a shitload in restitution, has been doing pretty well, hasn't made a payment in 10 years, and now is back in town and working for a nonprofit, which is pretty rich, because this person, when they had a position of authority with nonprofits, profited richly from that position. So we'll be talking about whether the friends and family plan is alive and well here in Detroit. I know Shawn doesn't care.
I know Shawn doesn't care. So to his chagrin, I want to ask you.
Get cheated, some of us think it's a big deal.
How do you think he can, with a straight face, say that he's paying restitution? Are his wages being garnished for the IRS? I mean, what? Or is he just flat out lying?
They can't find any wages. That's the thing. I think everything's cash with him. And when he did
he's got a job now that has to file, right? Because he's the president of that nonprofit.
Well, so that's the other thing, is now that he's out in the plain view like this, the Wayne County prosecutor says she'll be filing some motions to try and get some of that money. So that's, he may have stuck in his head out of the gopher hole only to get whacked like a mole. And not the one at Five Nights at Freddy's.
So what's he coming back to do? He's not can't run for office again. Oh, he probably could.
No, he's gonna be executive director of a nonprofit that's trying to help people who have been
wrongly convicted.
Get their life back after being in prison, or maybe wrongly convicted. Because of course he was wrongly convicted,
right,
so he said he didn't do anything. So yeah, so it's all pretty fantastic. So if you missed that interview on WJR, let me just save you the time. He got on there, got some sloppy from the hosts, and then moved on with it. I mean, it's just, this is where the media should be doing its job, which is when a crook comes into your studio and says, I didn't do nothing. You should at least do a Google search to say, well, that doesn't seem to be true. And Guy Gordon's a pretty damn good newsman, so I was surprised that was as cozy as it was, but. Oh, well.
By the way, why were Mike and I, the idea of us fist fighting, why was that on Twitter yesterday?
What do you mean?
It was through the Red Shovel folks. We're talking about, somebody was talking about Mike and I almost getting into a fist fight. They had the date down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you guys not see that?
No.
I thought maybe you were.
I love it when you two fight,
I thought maybe you were behind it.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't do such shenanigans.
I was just curious.
Seems like this person struck a nerve, though.
No, I was just curious if maybe it was a topic on the replaying old clips or.
Yeah,
we're just catching up.
We're the undercard on the Musk Zuckerberg.
Are you talking about the tweet?
Big fight.
The guy who was listening to a show from a few years ago?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said it was wild hearing me wanting Harbaugh fired after 2020.
Yeah.
No, I fully admit I was wrong about that one.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo, but he's winning, so that's college football.
Well, he's won a lot since he made some coaching hires, some analyst hires, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Low-level staffer.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man. Go back to, I don't know. It's always going to go back
Get
to
it right.
Yeah, he said
that die has been cast,
low-level
man.
staffer.
Yeah.
He said
Who
Connor
stands right next
Stalions
to
is
me.
going to clean up this program with his refurbished vacuum cleaners. So that's great. No, it's been good.
I love it.
So Dan Wetzel's here because, like I said, we're calling miscreants into the studio, and then we're listing all of their transgressions. So no, but you could be someday.
I'm trying.
Could be. He may be living down the street from you.
Yeah.
He's looking at a house next to La Porta. So
Really?
he said,
All
he said that's where all the big college
Give his
football
address
stars
out.
lived. So
Kwame can come live near me. I don't care. Come over, hang out in the backyard. That's fine.
he will.
I
He
don't
just
give him any money, but
well, he owes the entire city of Detroit a beer, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that what he
that's
said
true.
after the
Yeah.
Stanley Cup? So
Yeah. Yeah, he's buying the beer.
yeah, the beer's on him. That's right, because he always picks up his tab.
the entertainer strawberry away. That'd be fine. He's known for good parties. Let's put it that
That's
way.
true, yeah.
There certainly has been a lot
Legendary
said.
parties in Detroit.
There certainly has been a lot said about his after hours activities. I think he was saying too something about, I've been driving around looking at houses, and I haven't really didn't spend that much time driving around Detroit. I'm like, I seem to remember a deposition when people said you were out banging people. He's like, no, I was just alone driving with Kwame at night in my car. I'm like, so you either were driving around a lot or you weren't. I guess it depends on what suits you at the moment. But that's fine. I don't want to get too trapped in the past, even though the past tends to repeat itself when we allow ourselves to delude ourselves that anybody has changed when they really haven't. But let's talk about something more uplifting, like
corrupt.
injustice in the college football. Yeah. What could be purer than amateur sports?
It's not an amateur sport.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. But when people want to pretend that, oh my God, how could something corrupt happen in this sport, when that's all that happens in collegiate sports now, because they've become bastardized. And so now I hear all these people bitching that Florida State got bounced from the Final Four and they were a undefeated conference champion. It's like, give me a break. This is just so much. If you're a Florida State fan, I appreciate that you feel like you got screwed over. But this is about putting the four best teams on the field, or the four teams that you feel that you have to and can't make a case to exclude. And that's what they did. Mark, whose team is now number one, is still unhappy. What is it with you guys? You can't be happy. You got this great team. You're number one, and now you're belly aching about something else.
I'd rather our guest speak, but I will say this.
So now the refs don't just screw the Wolverines; they're screwing everybody else.
You mentioned Dan Wetzel about 10 minutes ago, right? At the beginning of that question, or whatever that was.
And I mentioned him a minute ago too.
It's good.
Yahoo Sports columnist, investigative reporter, Shawn.
Aside from the Michigan part of it, because I fully expected us to be matched up against Texas, I'd rather play Alabama than Texas, period.
Oh, of course. Yeah, who wouldn't?
Well, if you watch football this year, the way Michigan plays in their matchup, absolutely would rather play Alabama over Texas. That being said, no, I just think, what else can Florida State do? They win all their games. It's the only sport where you can win all your games and not even have a chance at the championship. And I just think that's ridiculous. And Dan, can you please point out what you said on the College Football Inquirer podcast, available on Yahoo Sports and wherever you can listen to your podcast?
Thank you.
You made a very good point about the rankings, if this is about the four best.
Yeah, so they chose the four best, right? What you're saying, and I don't disagree with that. I think Alabama.
Dan, thanks for coming on.
I think Alabama is better than Florida State, but they don't really believe that, because if they were saying Florida State isn't good without its quarterback Jordan Travis, why the hell are they ranked fifth? Georgia's better than them. Ohio State's better than them. Oregon, they should be ranked like 12th. Okay?
Yeah, I'll buy that.
So they didn't really believe that. They just had to find – see, these are like 13 people. A lot of them are college administrators. You got some former coaches. You got a couple – I don't know. They got just people down there. So human nature, they're sitting there going, we got 2 spots. Okay, we got 4 spots. Michigan's undefeated, 13-0. They're in. They're number one. Washington's 13-0, undefeated. They deserve it. They're in. Everyone would agree on those. We got 3 spots. We got 2 spots, 3 teams. Or maybe 4 if you count Georgia. Someone's getting screwed. What is the easiest explanation that we can have? Mm-hmm. It's not about what we actually think. They did not want to have a tournament without the SEC. They did not. That's it.
Right.
That's what it is.
SEC got an automatic bid into a tournament that doesn't have automatic bids. They had to put they're looking at their event going, if we don't have an SEC champion in here. Now, if it was like a 2-loss team or something, fine. But if we don't put Alabama into this thing, we either have to put Georgia or we have to put Alabama. So if Georgia had won, I think Florida State would have got in. But because because Alabama won.
Oh, right, because then Texas, it doesn't matter. They beat a team that wasn't as good.
So this is their logic. Look, we can't do this without the SEC's won 13 of the last 17 national titles. 4 times in that stretch they played. Both teams in the final game were from the SEC. This is the best league. It's Alabama.
By far.
It's Nick Saban. We have to put them in. So we have to put them in. What do we do now? Well, we can't then tell Texas, who beat Alabama by 10 points at Alabama, you're out. That'll be worse. So what we're going to do is go with this. We don't think you're any good because your quarterback's injured.
But I think I follow that logic.
That's fair. But that is logic, and that's what they did. And they figured, look, the people will take it because honestly, you want to watch. You go, oh, Michigan, Alabama. I want to watch that game, whether you live in Michigan or not. People all over the country are like, that's a Rose Bowl between Alabama and Michigan, Saban and Harbaugh, and all, I mean, that is college football at its best, right there.
Yeah.
So they're giving the ice cream, but their reasoning is terrible. Okay, and they're basically just saying, well, you're not good enough. We don't think you're good enough. With what you think, really, that doesn't mean anything. Oregon was a 9.5-point favorite over Washington over the weekend. It's football. Anything can kind of happen. Also, they sat there on Saturday night and watched, and they literally said this. They watched the game, the Florida State game. Florida State's playing Louisville. Florida State's second-string quarterback, Tate Rodemaker, had gotten a concussion. So he is out. So they put this freshman in, Brock Glenn. This kid's not ready. So he only throws for 55 yards. Florida State just runs the ball every time. And they win the game, though. Their defense is fantastic. It's a little like what Michigan did against Penn State. Hey, look,
just thinking of that.
We're going to run it 32 straight times because we will win the game. We don't care about style points. We're not trying to impress anybody. They can't stop us. We can stop them. Who cares if J.J. McCarthy doesn't throw a pass? But that's what they did. But the thing is, they go, well, they didn't look good. Their offense didn't look good against Louisville. But that's not fair because this kid, Brock Glenn, won't even be in the game. It should be. It's immaterial because he will be back on the bench, and the other kid, Tate Rodemaker, who's not that bad, will be back. So their whole logic was completely flawed. So you can be like, dude, I'm fired up, Alabama, Michigan, and you can go. At the same time, go, man, that system sucks. And Florida State got absolutely screwed. They won 13 games. Like, if you're on that team, this is the only sport, Mark was saying it earlier, where you can win all your games and not be the champion. Like, you could start any other sport on earth and say, oh, if I beat everybody, I'm the champ. Not here, because we just decided, well, the SEC in the past has been the best, and it'll be better for TV ratings and all that. So we're going to invent this idea. And you're out. So it's kind of weird.
Part of loving this sport is understanding that everybody's lying about everything all the time, pretty much.
Yeah, there's 133 teams playing for one title. Yeah. It's stupid.
It really is. If the committee came out and said that, like, look, the SEC has won all these titles. Yeah. We feel they're the best conference. I mean, aside from what they did in non-conference, particularly against the ACC this year. Yeah. If they just said that and said, we feel that champion gets a spot. I know it's not in the bylaws that we make up, but we change things all the time in college football.
But they can't because everyone will go because it should.
Everyone's going crazy anyway.
I know
a lot of people are.
Do
you think would the outroar be worse
if they were honest?
If they came, if they actually were honest.
I think it would be worse. Because what the SEC did last year doesn't matter. It's this year. Right?
Exactly.
But none of their reasoning makes any sense to why they came up with this, other than that they were just like, we got to let Alabama in.
But everybody knows that's the reason why.
If Georgia had beaten Alabama, the 4 teams would have been Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State as the 4th team undefeated, because then Texas got in because Alabama got in.
Right.
And you look at how they jumped these teams. Okay, so Texas, let's see. So Florida State is 4. Okay, Florida State is 4th in the second to last, the penultimate. You don't get to use that word very often.
I like that.
Penultimate.
Shawn, get your thesaurus out.
Florida State's 4. They beat Louisville, which is like the 14th best team. They were ranked like 14th. They beat them by 10. Texas is ranked 7th, and they beat like number 20 Oklahoma State. They pound them handily. But it's not like they beat.
Game. Time for Gundy to go. He's a man. He's unemployed.
If those 2 results are happening, why does one team drop a spot and one jump 4?
Yeah.
right? Like, what changed?
Makes no sense.
If you thought Texas was better than Florida State the week before, which they were, you should have dropped them. So it's the whole thing is this lunatic sport that makes no sense.
It's nuts.
And that's the fun part of it.
Could you make an argument that Washington should have been left out because they had a bunch of close scares? They beat Oregon twice, so I guess Oregon's not as great as everybody thought they were. Did Oregon beat anybody
Oregon's
who was
good.
very good for being so highly
the
ranked?
Pac-12 is really
Pac-12 was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the problem. You could make an argument any of them could have missed.
You could make an argument Washington should have been number 1.
Oh yeah.
over Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did it without
Big
stealing
Ten was
signs.
horrible.
I
Michigan
get-
played 1.5 games this year.
I guess I don't feel like they pulled out anything, though. Did they really? I mean, part of their criteria was injuries. That's been clear.
That's so far down on the list.
But it's on. But it's.
It
But
is.
you could
but
make
it's-
the argument that
but it's
Everything's on the list,
but
so
it's on the
everything can be.
list. I
If
mean-
everything is, it's like who are you saying? This traffic stop.
Yeah.
If everything is a violation, if you got to do the traffic stop, then you're going to violate. We can choose.
Here come the blue gloves.
Right.
No, and so
But you
there-
could argue if you're Florida State, we won with our third string quarterback. That's how good
No,
we
it's-
are.
it's a
Everybody
great-
else
it's a
has been
great
winning with their
story.
first string quarterback.
It's a great story, but they're not thinking about that. Dan's right. They're thinking about the ratings and what people want to watch. First of all, and
They're not-
secondly,
that's the one
Then
thing
they're
they're
saying
not supposed to do.
Is Florida State or Alabama better on the field 3 weeks from now? And that's probably pretty obvious.
That's a bullshit reason.
That's part of their criteria too.
They
though.
created this system.
Then
They
why-
did. This is not the first year they've said this, and they did it because they want wiggle room to get the matchups they want. I don't.
I understand that.
It's a
It's not
star
a
chamber.
secret.
But then
And suck it, Keon
It's
Coleman.
not oh my God! It's not a secret.
But why play? Why
you go.
play
That's
the season then?
Washington over Florida State. Absolutely.
Why play the season?
Suck it,
then?
What do
Jeremy
you mean,
Bernard.
why play
I
this
guess.
season? You play this season because 100,000 people want to show up every Saturday, or 50,000, or whatever, anywhere in between.
So it's all exhibition.
Why play the season? So you can make the TV money. Isn't that what you've been saying all year?
That's
so you can,
exactly-
so you
that's
can
the
fill
only-
the seats. So you can sell Don Canham's
That's the only
t-shirts.
reason. Otherwise, it's a club sport. I mean, I don't get it. What's so complicated?
I understand that. I'm not being entirely serious when I say that, but the great thing about college football used to matter that you lose in the regular season, you're done, right? I mean, when they had the BCS, which was
Regular
you wrote
season.
a book about it. Yeah.
Regular season matters. Every
No.
week matters. No, it
Doesn't
never did.
anymore.
it's
Well,
never
did.
It's
though.
never
So
mattered.
here's the disconnect. Okay, the fans, us, media, everyone else looks at this and go, wait, this doesn't make sense. We want more. Why we should have this path? You point out all the flaws, and all the people in charge that the coaches are making $10 million. They were making $8 million last year. Now they're making $10 million. The AD's making $2 million. Who's making $1.5 million? The school's making $200 million. They're sitting there going, yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm gonna go to my beach house
it's
now.
totally good.
Everyone's making more and more money, and it is the flaw. But they're like,
They know come January 1st at 5:00.
everyone's going to be watching that
The
game.
foundation of the
20,
sport.
20 million plus people be watching.
Dan
it.
said it earlier. 133 teams. By the way, it's a top 25 team that's also undefeated that didn't get in.
Liberty.
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 Liberty Bibbity.
I mean, they won all their games, right? No, but
Doesn't
Dan-
even have a mustache.
Dan said it. 133 teams, but it's just think about this. Think about the foundation of this sport. It's based on where a school is and how warm that school is, what the demographics of that region are, and how rich is an alumni base. That's it. No, there's no other sport where we say if you win or lose, you do this and do that, and you go on. There's no other sport in this country that is basketball, college basketball, a little bit, but
Look,
it's
in
unique
other-
that
in
way.
proximity to talent is
there's
the number one.
nothing fair about it. Nothing.
It's
I
got
know.
it's got
You're
big
asking-
state schools, small private schools, big city schools, rural schools, military academies, religious institutions.
And somebody's got aluminum bleachers over here for
Yeah,
30,000
right.
people, and somebody over here's got a cathedral that people come to from all over the country to snap pictures.
Well,
that
then
seats 100,000 people.
That's why it's time for those schools to break away.
Well, no, completely. I agree, but I'm just saying the idea that it's somehow a fair. It's not, but we love it anyway.
Well, I think
It's
just-
ridiculous. It's silly. Why do we even have school football programs attached to universities? And we're the only country in the world that does this. If we really want to go down this
Because
rabbit
it's a
hole,
way to connect the alumni base to the university. We do not want to do it like they do in Europe, where you have academies, because this is Shawn. I don't know if you were like what's his name? The guy in the tower shoe, Chapman, whoever's name in University of Texas, who didn't have any friends when he went to college. But those of us who did have friends when we went to college, this becomes a gathering point. This becomes an occasion to get back with people. You're sitting up there in the tower, sweating under your bandana, thinking,
why does Michigan want a football program? I'll tell you. So the Mike Rosenbergs of the world will move from the East Coast to the Midwest to go to school. That's why. Because the tuition, how much more is the tuition when it's out of state?
Oh, God.
That's what their football program does.
Since this last win streak,
some people go to Michigan because they like the academics.
Went from like 66,000
because they're dicks.
To 93,000.
There's one of the dicks.
In 3 years.
My wife works at the university, and just in the last 3 years, I think they're. I was driving her to work earlier this year, at the beginning of the year. I'm like, what? Where are all these kids coming from? And she said the enrollment, now, maybe this needs to be fact checked, but she's more or less the enrollment went from 35,000 to close to 50 in the last few years, since COVID, basically.
Well, I think it was like 31,000 when I went there, and now it's up to about 45.
But it's the
level of look what happened to Alabama. Look at their applications. Look at Alabama's actually hard to get, much harder to get into.
Over 50% of the University of Alabama is from outside the state
because of Nick Saban.
60%, right? Because of Nick Saban.
So that's what it is.
Enrollment and their percentage of applicants that got in went from 25% to 13%. Last year. Okay? It's harder to get in. And what changed? It's not like the university's been fantastic for decades, right? It's not like everyone's like, oh, well, we got a new engineering professor. All of a sudden, the football team's winning. 20 million people are watching. You're sitting at home, and you're a junior in high school, and you're watching all 100,000 people on the field at Michigan going, that's a good school, too. I want to be in that.
People want to be a part of it. Yeah. Yes, people want to be a part of something. And if you send your kid to Wayne State, which is a terrific school, or you send it to Michigan State or
CCS,
Michigan, or the CCS football program sucks.
If you have any creativity.
You know who you get in the CCS football program? You get Robert Downey Jr. from Back to School, where he's talking about football as aggressive ground acquisition games. One of the great Robert Downey Jr. roles of all time.
Well, I love that he hires Kurt Vonnegut to write his paper.
Exactly, but the thing is, if you go to Wayne State, which is a great school, and 20 years later you want to reconnect with your friends, there just aren't that many occasions where you can say, "Hey, let's go back to campus and." Blank.
I don't know. Use your phone and stay in touch with people.
I want to go back to the whole thing though about we don't
Some
really
people like
being
to see other people.
We know in this country we're being lied to by a lot of people a lot of times, and we're not supposed to like it. And I don't like being lied to by this selection committee.
But you're not being lied to.
No, I wish they would admit it. But the other part of the lie...
They do admit it by the choices that they make.
No, they don't. Dan, just explain their reasoning that they presented as to why they did what they did.
It's pretty transparent.
The other lie...
Rick Scott's out there demanding transparency, which is ridiculous.
The other...
Why didn't you do that when we ran hospital chains down in Southern Florida?
The system is changing in 51
Is he wearing
weeks.
that Navy hat?
Like they are. Yeah. We need a government intervention. It's already getting changed.
Done.
Right? What are we doing?
And almost like when kickoff happens.
That's the first time, by the way, Rick Scott's ever wanted transparency.
Why are you taking Rick Scott?
I don't know. Just because what he did with the hospital systems and the private.
Andy looks like an obstetrical tool.
But what I was going to say, the other lie is, about student athletes and about these student athletes. Go explain that to the Florida State players.
No, it's not. I feel for them. No, for sure.
I love that the only guy who supports a team who has the only coach who was suspended by his own school for lying is railing against liars in college football. This is rich.
Well, did I ever say Harbaugh didn't lie?
No, but you're like, I don't like lying. I'm like, you love it when you're 12-0 and ranked number 1.
Dude's a genius. He got paid full salary for missing half the season. I mean, if you show up for work half the time and get all their pay.
Well, Shawn gets 100% of his pay. But he really at least he's here, even if he's only half here.
He really only took 6 days off.
I'm a quarter here.
Yeah, he was there during the week.
I think they got their hours out of him.
Yeah, Shawn.
No, my body, such as it is here, but my brain's outside.
What?
And other parts are who knows where.
I think you've been very engaged.
Like Andy Dufresne listening to that opera. You're like, they can't touch me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Wow. We're back to Warren PD again, I see here. And I don't think Andy got the blue plastic gloves. So
Shawn Windsor nearly spent a quarter century in a Mississippi prison. So this has absolutely floored me. Do you wake up and like that story is just troubling me. Like I would be panicked for the rest of my life that like that's how close.
That was a long time. No, it was. They
were not going to be like, it's his. No, not mine. Yeah, sure.
But they didn't find it though, right? That's the key.
No, we were no. Yeah.
So
that was intense. No, that was
get
intense.
the bell ready.
The big rocks and the little rocks.
That was intense. That was
get the bell ready. Kwame Kilpatrick's brother-in-law, Daniel Ferguson, was driving cross country
College
through
athlete.
Nebraska. Yeah, great basketball player. And they did find 8 kilos of blow under his car, and he did do 10 years. So that
no, we were very lucky, but it did put my buddy through college, and he went on to a nice, fine career. So,
let's see. So happy ending.
So Dan, what kind of things are we going to argue? You say 51 weeks or whatever from now because the whole playoff is changing. What are we going to be arguing about next year?
The 13th team.
But nobody cares about the 13th team as much.
But those folks will.
No, first 4 get a bye.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Seeding,
home field. So 1 through 4 will get a bye.
Hey, they won't play a home game though, will they? The 1 through 4?
Those will not yet, but they'll eventually get there.
It's a little ludicrous.
They'll get there, yeah. 1 through 4.
That's the best thing. Home fields, right?
Home fields, yeah.
But talk about an administrator. You'd rather
let's have
not
the northern
bye.
schools.
Imagine if this game is in Ann Arbor and Alabama is coming to Ann Arbor for a playoff game, right? It'll be the biggest game.
No, seriously, unbelievable,
right? And 5 through 8. So 5 through 8 will host, and like if you go back through the last 15, 20 years, like Michigan State would have hosted a few games in that spot. And like you don't have to, so to host would be, you're 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5's kind of safe, but 6, 7, 8. 5, the 5 seed also will get the Liberty, so it's almost like it's a very easy.
I'd rather be 5 than 4.
Everybody wants to be 5, right? Maybe, or you don't want to be 6. So there's that. But you get can you imagine a good Michigan State team getting an SEC team up and see if you can handle Beast Lansing in the middle of December and it's snowing and all that.
Played Florida State 10 years ago.
You end up going to play LSU or something like that, and you're like, yeah. So there's going to be a lot of that. There'll be the seeding, and I mean, believe me, they'll be yelling. It's college football. They'll be yelling about everything.
Are they going to select? Is it the same kind of committee? Are they going to use the same?
Oh yeah, they love their committee and their TV show. It's a TV show.
How many people are on this committee?
13.
They don't hide it.
So 13 people. Okay, and you wrote a book about when you wanted the BCS to go away because that was ridiculous too. But that was at least computers, right?
Partially.
Have you ever looked at what computers would have chosen this year out of the 4 instead of the committee?
Somebody did do what the BCS rankings were, but the problem. So I honestly, the best way to do this would be one single computer formula that everybody knows the criteria to. Yeah. But this is college football, and we do not like learning or college or computer
or AI.
No. College part is we'd rather have 13 guys sitting around drinking Diet Cokes and a
fly to Dallas.
Probably Diet Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper, and yeah.
That's funny. That's my biggest problem with the committee is why do you have to fly to Dallas? You guys can't get on a Zoom and talk about this?
They got to go each week.
I know.
6 weeks ago, they wasted 2 days. It's crazy.
Or a TV show, really, yeah.
I think if they were on Zoom, there's a chance somebody would record it. And if those recordings got out, that could be kind of scandalous because I'm sure when the cigars come out and the bourbon, the old boys down there are telling us what they really feel.
What a waste of money. And yet the players get nothing.
So, Mark, you want to see how many schools pulled out in their own division?
I said the players are doing
they're doing
very
all right now.
well.
Yeah, you can hear the
They've been doing very well forever.
Voice.
Now they're doing incredibly well.
Mike's resentful.
Some of them.
With that, yeah. He doesn't want them to get paid.
What were you going to ask, Shawn?
How many teams do you want to see get pulled out?
What do you mean?
Their own division.
Oh, like for a super
league?
Yeah.
Well, you know me, I'd love to have promotion and relegation.
So what, 30 teams? How many teams? The NFL size?
Well, I mean, hey, it works for the NFL. I mean, the NFL...
They can't do it, though. They need to play those weak teams to get victories.
Yeah, and there's some rivalries that matter. What would Notre Dame do without
need
Navy?
To get pummeled to pay for their program.
The weak teams need to get paid. Plus, in the NFL, when you lose, you have a draft, right? So, I mean, as Lions fans are well aware.
They'd have to have a draft.
Right. You go you have one win, and you're like, hey, we get Aiden Hutchinson, maybe we get better. In college football, unless they start forcing people to go to college, which is not going to, they're not going to have a draft. The best players go to the best team. If you're at the bottom, you're never getting
No, but you could have a draft theoretically. you don't have to. You're not going to force anybody to go to school, but you can say if you want to go play college football,
You have to
You
go.
got to go part of the
That's it?
draft.
No,
you take
You're in
the top
Colorado
300
State or
recruits
something
or
like
whatever.
that.
Yeah.
Like what? Like that's it.
Sean, that's ridiculous.
It's not happening.
The NFL shouldn't have a draft. It should all be free. You get to pick who you work for.
Yeah.
That's kind of silly.
So you don't want it to be fair.
At its
So you really
essence,
don't want anything to be fair.
Fair.
Yeah, at its essence, it's wrong. But it, as an entity, you have to.
Well,
create
it makes
this-
the
yeah.
system. It makes the
Right.
product, the entertainment product, far better.
So yes.
They can't really just play 30 teams because someone's going to go. Like you want to always be able to win 6-7 games even when you're down, and get the alums out and have
Go to a
fun.
bowl,
Yeah,
right?
hey,
You
we
can
beat
travel.
Western Michigan.
you know, in college football, we do.
Yeah,
in
when
essence-
do Western Michigan fans all get together in the Bahamas? Well, when their team goes to the Bahamas Bowl, you know, that's
Yeah,
a good excuse
it's,
for a trip.
And somebody who's running it makes what $300,000
Yeah.
to work what?
Should Western have a football team? No.
Oh,
They should have club sports. No,
I mean,
seriously. I mean, if we really want to get down to it, you don't like the academy system?
Well, how many people from Western Michigan ended up being very wealthy because they ended up with an NFL career? You're all about paying kids to do stuff and giving them lots of money. I mean, you'd have all these Western Michigan guys in the NFL who wouldn't have had that chance because they played a club sport.
We'd have to find an academy system. I don't know.
Fan of action.
on a Tuesday night, come on.
Yeah.
Action on a Tuesday is the
It's like
best.
There's like 10 fans in the stands.
I
They're
do like the gray field a little
They have
bit
like
at
a
Eastern.
garbage can burning for heat and like in the
Love it.
sideline.
Here's the
That
thing.
sounds like going to a game in Maryland.
Under the current system,
Place is a ghost
under the
town.
current system, if you have to pull general budget funds out to help support,
And they did. Most of them do.
which is what Eastern does, I know. I'd much rather see that. I mean, seriously, just for a quick second, if you're being sincere, I'd much rather see that money go to scholarships to kids that otherwise couldn't get to
However,
college that have nothing to do with athletes.
So
not
let's
pay
flip it
Have their
around.
tuition
Wait a
drop.
sec. You just
Yeah,
talked.
yeah,
$1,000
exactly.
Some of these things are $1,000.
Exactly, or have the tuition.
Yeah.
But the idea that, I mean, to me, that doesn't seem a very good use of overall tax dollars. Now we're getting into a completely
That's fine,
different
but we did just talk
conversation.
about how it is pretty much the biggest marketing arm for a university is their athletics.
Yeah, but how great is that? Is that really great that Michigan can have 50% of the students from outstate, and they make more money to do what? Build nicer dorms? Have you seen the dorm? You know, my nephew's over there. You've got a child.
Yeah.
It's an arms race. We talk about that in the football, you know, with Ohio State Stadium and weight rooms, whatever. Nebraska building some ridiculous.
There's a difference between Michigan and your MAC schools and stuff. And also, like, how many sports do you really need? You can make the argument that football still matters. People do go to Western and Central games. It's not in the numbers. Basketball can be very exciting. You get in the NCAA basketball tournament. It's a huge marketing, exciting thing. But, you know, you start getting down into some of the other sports and there's nobody at the games. And, you know, like, is that worth paying? But this is the system they
No,
have.
it's not.
No, it is.
There's a lot of wasted
If you
dollars.
go to
at
any of those
colleges.
Quidditch games, there's just nobody there.
If the ultimate goal is to get as many people to a university as possible, yeah, this is
So,
screwy, but
Shawn,
it's fun. But it's fun to watch.
Let
So,
me
I like it.
let me see if
I
I
do too.
understand your vision of what college life should be worth.
Studying.
Oh, you
Clearly,
can
clearly the guy was a student. He's driving around Mississippi with a truck full of weed.
No sports. Students sleep on cots
Dude, I
in
was
tents
hanging
or
out
Quonset
Like
huts.
a Beetle Bailey.
I mean,
I didn't. You know what? I watched when I was a freshman at college. Bo Jackson came and played at the stadium. I was at the University of Texas, and Auburn came and played Texas, and it was fun. But it was a hell of a lot more fun watching Timbuk 3 and getting high on the street and learning what a cappuccino was or whatever. You know what I mean? Come on.
I would argue you could do both.
And by the way, back then you just got a little sticker on your student ID. It was like $40 for the whole semester. It got you into every sporting event on campus. And tuition was $4 a semester hour.
Boy, look at all the money they left on the
Where
table
were you
back
going?
then.
Was
Well,
this
they
a
had all that.
penal colony?
They had all that oil money from out in West Texas.
Oh, okay.
It was the University of
Now they're
Texas.
giving it all to Steve Sarkisian.
I do want to. Well, yeah.
Was there any thought?
Which I can hear. I can hear Dan already yelling the word guardrails, which I love the fact that you bring that up on your podcast all the time. Can you explain that, particularly that guy sitting over there who doesn't want athletes to get paid?
Athletes are handsomely compensated.
Wait a
So
second.
let's-
He asked
let's-
Dan a
not-
question.
not
Thanks
by-
for answering for
I
him.
want to get the.
I'm just setting the
Not-
record
not
straight.
by
and
their
I'm going to
employer.
let
No,
Dan
the
speak.
problem is they say, well, you should be able to do endorsement deal, NIL, you can sponsor, right? Like, and if you want to just sponsor your neighbor, you really care about your universe. You care about Texas, and your neighbor's going, I'm thinking of going to Texas, or I'm thinking of going to Michigan, and you go, you should go to Texas. I'll give you $5,000 if you go to Texas because I think it'd be better for you. I'll pay $5,000 your tuition. I know this,
which is how it used to happen, right?
Unlikely conversation.
I'd say go to Texas Tech.
Right.
Yeah, if you promise to sleep on the floor,
Because Lubbock is a lot nicer than Austin.
This would not be a violation of any known anything. You'd be like, what a great guy.
Yeah.
That guy help someone go to college, right?
That's true.
But in college sports, so now you kind of allow it, but they don't really want it. So they yell guardrails. We need to know about the deal, or we need to cap. You can't give 5,001, or what are you doing with that? And so you either have a free market where a normal kid can get as much money as he wants any which way, or you don't. You can't have guardrails on the free. I'm a free market guy.
And so am I. And so I thought you were until today, until you wanted Florida State to be
Imagine
in.
the guardrails. You'd only be allowed to have 2.5 pounds of weed in that truck back then. Not 5. That guy never would have made it through
No,
college.
he wouldn't have.
But I mean that argument is just getting blown up all the time when you see people like Jimbo Fisher getting paid $75 million to not coach.
Yeah, what's the guardrail there?
There's none.
well,
with the
when the
coaches.
Indiana coach gets $25 million not to coach, it's like,
Sure.
I didn't know they gave him $25 million to coach in the first place. I mean, it's friggin' Indiana.
I don't
this
think I've
stuff-
ever seen that stadium full, by the way. I've been
They
there
had
for
a
probably
coach.
10 games at Indiana. Have you ever seen a stadium full there?
Well, it would have been when the COVID
Maybe
year.
when Ohio State is there, it fills up.
Yeah.
But I've been there with Michigan and Michigan
I've
State.
seen it with good crowds. That's a fun stadium.
I was there one weekend. This was back when Bob Knight was there, and he had a Midnight Madness on a Friday. First practice of the year. They do it at midnight because it's like the first day, the excitement team. There's 17,000 in the basketball stadium. Next day they played football. There's 14,000 people there. They watched a practice at midnight.
Well, part of the problem was
No, I
Bob
know.
Knight threw most of the chairs out of the
Yeah,
stadium.
there would
so
have
they
been more
didn't have enough
seats.
Seats, yeah.
There would have been more people there, but the chairs got
He
tossed.
could have thrown some in there. God rest Bobby Knight for.
I'm with Dan. They should get paid however and whatever they can.
But
whatever you
Whatever they think the market says they're worth.
by the university though. These outside
I
donors.
like the outside.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Why not both though?
Well, I
So
don't know.
you have a minimum for the folks that aren't going to get as much on the outside market, right? So
Well, no, I
so
think
the
it-
long snapper gets basically a salary. You have a base salary. Is that what you're saying?
No, you pay just like any other company or how and the NFL does it, right? They can get endorsements outside of it, but you pay them for their labor.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you have a base salary, and
Maybe
then
a
the
base,
stars
but
can get.
I'm
Well, the
fine with however they get it.
The base salary could simply be the tuition to attend the university because there are
Thank you.
there are a lot of people.
Yeah.
that
There's
play
110
that are on it.
people.
Hang on, there are-
$30,000 right away.
Yeah, there's a lot of
At least.
people on college football rosters that don't play that like to go to school. That being said, there's a lot of people that play to make a lot of money for those universities to pay all these associate athletic directors, 6 figures to really do what? Raise money?
No, so they created so many rules. They have compliance departments
Yes.
that are like 30 people to keep track of the rules. Like, get rid of the rules, you get saved 30 jobs. The basic thing is like, if let's say there's somebody wealthy in Detroit and they're just enjoying the Lions so much, and I got all the money in the world, I just want to give $1 million to Jared Goff for giving me this great season, right? And maybe he'd come speak at my golf outing. And you go, hey, whatever, it's your money. And same thing with Michigan. And you say, well, I want to give $1 million to J.J. McCarthy. He's just brought so much joy to my life. He comes to my golf outing, I give him $1 million. And the schools, and even though it's the same thing, the schools, we want to know about it. What is this? What is all?
What
it's
are we missing out
there's
on?
No guard. Yeah.
What
And you
money
go,
are we not getting?
I
that
think
would have
that's
been donated
stupid, but
to
it's
us?
not my $1 million. So if you
Yeah.
want to do that, just so you can meet the quarterback,
It's ridiculous.
Go ahead.
When the same system just picked Michigan and Alabama because they want people to watch.
right.
People would watch if it was Michigan, Florida State, or if it was Michigan,
But
Texas.
not at not at the same.
This thing's going to be a monster.
It's not at the same.
Well,
It's-
and to that point, and you
they're going
pointed
to
out,
lose the ad revenue for the networks. Won't be the same.
you pointed out on the Yahoo Sports College Football Inquirer podcast, available wherever podcasts. are.
That's Inquiry with an E.
Nice plug.
2 plugs, baby.
But you
Nice.
pointed out, all this noise about the system being broken and the sport is just terrible. The ratings are through the roof.
More and more popular every year.
Yeah.
They tell you, oh, we don't have guardrails. We can't control this. No one's going to be fans. They literally argued to the Supreme Court. This is the NCAA. It argued at a Supreme Court thing that 10% of the fans would immediately stop watching if players got endorsement deals, right? So, like I'm talking legitimate, like Caleb Williams is in the Dr. Pepper commercial. right?
Yeah.
He's the biggest star. The same, and they literally argued that at least 10% of their fans would stop watching immediately because it would change the way they saw this.
Well, they found new
Come
fans
on,
then.
man.
No,
they
because-
found new
no,
people to
because-
watch.
You watch the NFL, you can't. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are in every single commercial.
Get away from it.
It's just because fans knew all along,
Right.
They knew all along that they
care.
should. Yeah, they didn't think it was fair all along.
Good
Not
for
only
Caleb
that,
Williams.
Part of the reason it's more popular than ever is because the product. I hate to call it a product, but the game, the talent
is.
level,
So good.
The talent level just gets better and better every year. It looks
Well,
more and
and-
more like the NFL.
And I don't know if
And college basketball, meanwhile, is
Now you
the
got guys
opposite problem.
staying, and the quarterback plays even better because
that's what I was going to say. I don't know if it's ironic or whatever, but you have a lot of guys who will stay because they can make they make more money playing in college than they would jumping. I mean, there's talk about J.J. McCarthy might stay because of the amount of money he can make.
Absolutely.
In NIL when he is, at draft boards late first round. Whoever saw that? Who saw that coming? Isn't that a good thing to keep
You
these
could,
guys there?
probably use another year.
All right, you want a good
Why is that
hypothetical
terrible?
lawsuit on the NCAA?
Yes.
So you're supposed to only be there 4 years of eligibility, but they have all these, clauses like you can red shirt, and so you played 4 games, and then there's a COVID year, and then you can be a grad transfer.
But only for 1 year.
You can be in grad school, all these stuff. So we had last year, Stetson Bennett, the Georgia quarterback's 25 years old. He never even graduated from Georgia. He was there. He's 25 years old. He'd been there since 18. Never quite got the degree.
That's
But-
the SEC for you.
So you can make $1 million as a quarterback, let's say. JJ McCarthy could make $1 million or whatever. Let's take just someone who's not good enough for the pros. JJ McCarthy will be, but let's say he isn't. Some guy on the team, you can make $1 million a year playing college football. One of them's going to sue and say, why am I limited at 4 years? Because it is a restraint of trade for you to say I cannot make money and pursue this if I just keep going to grad school and keep getting, as long as I'm academically eligible and keep getting grad degrees, of which
like Joey Hauser, who could have played another year.
keep playing. Right. And you say,
He's
I'm
already
making
played
$1 million
6 or
a
whatever.
year and getting, now I'm getting a master's in this. And now I'm getting
Look what Tyson Walker, the point guard from Michigan State, he's in his 6th, 7th year. I mean,
right.
Well,
Why he could keep playing, and we're going to end up with 34-year-olds, family of 3. They're
I would love to see somebody skip a bowl game to defend their doctoral thesis.
There you go.
That is my
That's
dream.
what I want to see.
Well, the
I'm
bowl
all
system-
for that.
Come on, the bull system is ridiculous.
Can we get back to just 1 second for why
No,
Mike thinks...
wait a minute. I do
why
wanna-
Mike thinks there's no college experience unless there's a fucking football game?
No, I
What were you
just
doing
don't.
on your I mean, there...
I don't want to drop
What was
acid,
happening at
move weight,
Michigan
and go to a coffee shop. I want more than that when I'm in college. Pusher man.
Sean lived dangerously driving through
Yeah,
Mississippi. with
we
weed.
should expect.
You didn't figure out what a French movie was, or you didn't start learning about the world a little bit. I mean, what did you do?
I saw Kiss of the Spider Woman at Wells Hall, so we did watch art house movies, and then we went to the game.
Can I go back to Dan's hypothetical lawsuit there?
No, wait. I want to come back to something that
What's
Mark.
that?
It's pretty wild. Isn't
I
it?
think it's fascinating because what is the argument going to be against it?
I don't know because they don't. They've changed the rules so many times. They can't really say it's not fair.
Well, they'll lose 10% of their audience.
could you have an
But look
18-year-old?
at the quarterbacks now. Look at how old's Bo Nix or Michael Penn?
Yeah, these guys have been around. Once they did the grad, you can keep going if you go to grad school. You get that extra year, or you can transfer. And the COVID, these guys are in their.
better for the sport.
How old was Chris Wenke when he graduated?
He was 28. Because he played minor league baseball and came
right,
back.
and he'd lost his hair by the time he was a freshman because he'd been in baseball for 10 years wearing a helmet.
The kicker for Colorado this year is a British guy who's got a wife and 3 kids, and he's like 34 years old.
See, I
He
keep,
was a soccer player.
It's awesome.
I keep telling people I got full eligibility, but nobody calls.
Like, can you imagine him being like, "Yeah, you wouldn't believe this deal I got set up. I just kicked this ball through the thing, and
As long as they're
they're giving me free grad school."
By the way, speaking of ratings,
college football just needs to stay weird. It's the best. It's so great.
if Dion can recruit and they can get legitimately good, that will be awesome.
I know.
not going to happen.
Just be awesome.
It's
I want-
not going to happen.
I want to get back to something Mark kind of talked about, and we moved on quickly. It's the only part of NIL that I think is worthwhile. Is it does give people
Yeah,
a
fuck the
reason
kids.
to stay in college
Screw 'em.
instead of leave early.
I
the
wanna
only
go
problem is
watch and
I don't
tailgate.
think that they're really going to college.
I want to exploit. I want to
I
exploit.
don't think they're truly students.
Very
but,
cynical of you.
But I like the idea that if a guy like Jake Butt decides to play in a game and risk his pro potential, that he will be rewarded for being
Or
a full part
at
of
least
the
have
program.
health care continue on past.
So that's the
Well,
only
so
part
I'm
of
all
NIL.
for the healthcare,
That's the only
but-
part of NIL you like. Otherwise, you say, I want to go to a stadium with my family and I know my friends, and I want to put the green and white on. I want to post on social media. Hey, look at me! I'm an alum up here. I'm going to spend all this money. I'm going to have a
green.
tailgate. I'm going to have
Be
a
captured
house, and
by,
I'm going to rent out to tailgaters. I want to do all that, but no, kids, you don't get a penny except for health care.
No.
That is a great system.
You know what? Here's the thing, Shawn. And I'm speaking specifically of Michigan State. I got 109 kids and a punter, and only one of them has a chance of getting a free agent invite, and that's the punter because he's on the field and in more snaps than anybody else in the game.
All the more reason they should be getting paid.
And getting free tuition, you could argue that this university is subsidizing kids who have no future in the sport they've chosen
That's
to play
fine. Did you
after
stop spending your
graduation.
money?
Pardon me?
Did you stop spending your money just because of that? Because the punter was the only prospect? Did you still buy tickets? Did you buy beer at the stadium?
I didn't buy beer at the
Did you
stadium.
pay to park?
I sneak in Fireball. I didn't get 4 pounds of Bam Bam shoved up my ass so I can get in there. But that's just because I don't have a cousin in Mississippi who now apparently is an ordained minister or however the hell he's rescuing kittens or some shit like that.
Never seen Shawn laugh that hard.
It's a bootstrap story.
We'll talk about a feel good story. In fact, I think he may be the chief financial officer for this nonprofit that
It was just
Kilpatrick's
the Bam
working.
Bam. It was
Then
the
we'll
Bam
find out
Bam.
how what a great guy Kilpatrick is when he's ripping
Bam
off your
Bam.
cousin. But no, when I spend my money on athletics, I want to support the college and the athletic department, and I think the money
You
I'm
don't want
spending
to
on my
support
tickets,
anybody.
$100 of every seat I have goes to a so-called scholarship fund. So I know I'm supporting scholars and their academic growth.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
But college sports is supposed to be about bringing people together. It's supposed to be about recreation. And in some cases...
What do you think weed does?
In some small cases, it's still...
You pass, you get
point.
high, you pass
Good
everything
point.
around.
Argue
You're not
that
afraid
point,
to get affectionate with folks. You know what I mean?
Are you
Come
saying
on.
college athletes should have free weed?
I actually wish I could. Of course I did. Absolutely.
Oh, I think they
Some of
don't.
them
They're one of the things. Their guardrails is you're not allowed to endorse a weed company.
Meanwhile,
again,
there's
you should be able to do any company you want.
Or
There's
you
a
probably
radio
can't
show.
use it to help with your aches and pains.
Now
I mean,
they finally decided that maybe
you can? Okay. Is that the
some
Robert
of them.
Parrish rule?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Robert Parrish played till he's 41 years old.
Yeah.
Because he was smoking weed and doing yoga, and everyone thought he was weird and a criminal.
No, it turns
Exactly.
out he was right.
He could have been rubbing oils on
He's
himself.
been
He could have
lifting
played
weights
till
and
he was
getting hammered on
45.
beers. Like, come on.
But there's a radio show up in East Lansing, and their main sponsor is a weed. It's a dispensary of some kind. Graham Couch runs it. He gets Michigan State employees on that show. You know, the connections are everywhere. It's
Go
ridiculous.
green, man.
Tired of the hypocrisy.
They finally stopped
I
the
actually wish I
gambling advertisements.
Yeah,
but
how is this show not sponsored by a weed company, by the way?
Good question.
God, I wish.
well, because the one
we take
guy...
over our sales.
What is going on around here?
I am envious, man.
It's a
I
lack
wish
of
I could smoke
motivation,
weed.
mainly because he's still working on that 4 pounds of stash that he's had since 1972.
Dude, I had to stop
Most
in
of it's
the.
buried in a field in
Most of
Mississippi. You want to go
most of
down?
it's mold now. He's
I
been
had to stop
smoking.
in the late
He's been
'80s.
smoking penicillin since 1972.
No, it had like an LSD effect at some point in the late '80s, and I had to stop. It's too bad. I miss it.
Well, thank God it didn't have any.
No,
It
you-
didn't have
you
any
get-
long-term effect on your logic.
No, you
center.
get high and you look in the
I
mirror
gotta
and
go
you're like,
back
who the fuck is that? And you're done, right? The paranoia kicks in.
Okay, when you got stopped.
You've never known anybody that got paranoid but getting high. Come on.
Shawn, we are out to get you. It's
When you
not
got
paranoia.
stopped in Mississippi, okay, and then you guys avoid getting all they got to do is search.
I
the
just
truck.
remember my brother
You're
saying,
dead.
"Keep your hands up on the wheel where the officer can see them."
and you avoid literal because this is what?
They
What
were
year
white
was this?
hands. That probably helped.
What year was this? Like 80s,
This
90s.
90, 91.
Yeah, you're going away for a long time. Oh yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
So then he leaves. What do you do then? I would be like, I ain't getting back in this truck. You guys just keep driving and figure, in Tennessee they'll be nicer.
Yeah, no.
No, they needed to bust out some of the stash to even out because they're so stressed out. So we better smoke a
swallow
bowl.
it.
By the way, speaking
How
of
did you keep driving without being? You smoked it and then weren't nervous. Like I would be like, get me the Greyhound stop.
No, we just
I am
figured,
not.
We just figured, okay, that was
Can't
the
happen
one time.
twice.
Exactly. The craziest thing in that van, though, was probably 10 years earlier. Speaking of college football,
It's not even the craziest story in the van.
Here comes the first green jacket
what's
story.
the VIN number of this?
stepfather. This is, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to
Belvin?
say this. This is a Belvin story.
We need silence for Belvin stories.
Sorry.
Rest in peace, Bell.
What?
He's still alive. What are you talking about? This is my stepfather, Dan, and
The stories are insane.
He refuses to come on the show because he won't consort with drug
My
traffickers.
stepfather's a very worldly. He was a fighter pilot and a very worldly guy. Speaks Russian, raised orchids, whatever. Anyway,
goes commando
went
in a
to-
kimono.
Grew up in a cotton field in South Carolina. Went to Clemson. Very poor. We were driving to a bowl game somewhere. We had to go through New Orleans. This is in the early '80s in this same van. And I was probably 16 because he said, you got to drive. So he's in the back drinking Jack, getting drunk. And all of a sudden, my mom, I hear these noises. My brother and I on the two front seats. There's no seats in the back. They're in the back making noises I don't want to hear. So
And 9 months later,
so they finish. And all of a sudden we're in downtown New Orleans. He's like, hold on, slow down. He gets up and sits on my lap and pulls his pants down and hangs his ass because he wants to moon all the revelers. And this is
his belt was already undone.
Yeah, no, that's what I remember. That freaked me out a lot more than
What in the world is that story?
Your parents coitus in the back seat while you're driving.
Sean, have you
No, but
ever?
then he wanted to moon all the college
that's
football
the worst
fans
part
for
of that story?
No, not the mooning, but we could have got, this indecent exposure. I guess it's not as bad as 4 pounds of weed. But that's what I remember more is that he did that. He mooned downtown New Orleans. This guy is a war hero.
He knows how to
whatever.
live. I'm still telling you, that's not the
Your
worst part of your
parents had,
story.
Relations in the back seat while you and your brother were driving,
Yeah,
and
And it's the mooning that bothered you.
mooning.
No,
Did
I
you-
didn't like. I didn't
Did
like.
you
hearing
not hear that he's a fighter pilot?
I didn't like.
That's
hearing
how they do it.
Thank you for your service. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Sean didn't know what it meant when he said pull the canopy goose until he finally saw Top Gun many years later.
Oh my God.
World.
He used to run. I've told these guys he used to run around in a kimono, because we lived in Tokyo for a while and it was wide open and he's hanging out.
Yeah, the
You've seen
Japanese
some-
are
you've
known
seen
for
some
having
things,
their
man.
scrotums exposed. That's
Anyway.
I've known Sean a long time. I didn't know these stories.
I know. There's a lot to mine in there. I don't
No, we're good. We're good. All right. Well, he was a Clemson fan, so how about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. We'll bring it back around. He loved
Tigers.
Clemson.
Go
This
Tigers.
whole show is a long con. We're just using Sean to get to Belvin, and we're not there yet. That's who we want to come in.
They always want the
Yes.
Belvin stories,
Wow,
but
yes.
When he finally gets here, he better be good because we're putting up with a lot of shit in the meantime. But so, Sean, is it just kind of a personal rule that somebody has to have conjugal relations in your vehicle? Is that just like something that
Maybe he's a sensual driver.
Yeah, this is everything. Every society has unwritten rules, and that's the.
Maybe he just sets the mood perfectly when he drives.
it's funny though. I've never had somebody break into a rental car and actually leave something. I was in Oakland one time in a rental.
Boy, here we go.
No, it's no biggie. I came back. I went
Nothing
to get a great.
sketchy's ever happened in Oakland.
I was in Oakland one time. It's really you listen, right? It's like that.
He was dropping off the 4 pounds of weed.
No,
That's
it's
what he
fine.
was doing.
I met some family. Had a great little ramen place, and came out, and they smashed in the windows of the rental car and took my bag. But no, that was. So I've had that happen, but I've never had actually
Leave
somebody
something.
break in and leave something.
Karma. Now you're even.
Yeah.
Still,
You're
like,
equal.
Your kids are in the car. I mean, whatever lights the firework, man. I like that candle. Go with it. But
Usually it's not other children. That's a deterrent.
Here's the public service portion of this show. Never ride in Sean's backseat, okay?
Oh, God.
drive yourself.
Just unless you got a
Unless
hazmat
you have
on.
an attractive woman with you.
No, but the whole point was, I wish I could take edibles like you.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
Wait,
whole
wait,
point.
the past hour, that's the whole point? That's what you took out of this?
Nothing can stop
Did
you.
you wish you could eat
Nothing's
edibles
stopping you
like
from
Mark?
that.
No, and handle it.
God, I wish we could have got to that half an hour ago.
Okay. So what are we doing?
Do we get to skip
that
the
note.
music this week?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Now,
Please?
Yeah, we should.
no, actually, Sean,
Can we skip the Geek of the Week? We're having
Yes,
too
we
much
should.
fun.
I
Can't
have
we
a-
show some improv?
No.
I have a tune that you're going to love for Room 7609. But before we get to that, let's tell people about Luke Nowacki
Oh,
because
shit.
you're going to be ready to retire by the time we get to our sponsor read. So if you're planning ahead, like
forgot
nobody
about
here
this.
does,
How could I forget about Luke Nowacki?
you can't forget about Luke, and you can't do better than Pinnacle Wealth.
Yeah, if you have money, have your money make money for you, right? If you want to figure out if you're on target to meet your goals, give Luke a call, 248 663-4748. He's going to let you know based on your age and when you want to retire and if you can retire, stocks, bonds, equities. Just let Luke figure out. Free consultation, 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
Okay, Geek of the Week is going to be really short, I promise, unless Shawn says, can't we make this shorter, and then talks for 3 minutes in the middle of it.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
I was fully expecting him to interrupt you, that's why.
Oh, I know. Well, so this week's Geek, and I think we may have a consensus here, are the people who came up with a 4-game playoff instead of a 6-game playoff. Because if you have a 6-game playoff, you get the Power 5 conferences champions. Each one goes, and you leave a space for
Liberty.
Cincinnati, for Liberty, for Boise State, for Central Florida, for some Cinderella team that people can get excited about and can get behind to be slaughtered by the SEC team. A 6-team playoff is the way to do it. It's better than the 12 they're coming up.
It's not.
It's better than the 4 they've got.
Not at all.
Nobody ever said less football's better.
No, but Mike just says, "Hey, I want the guys to get paid, so why would
they got to
want
get back
12
in
teams?"
class.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we don't have a consensus. But ignore the other voices.
But I will piggyback that.
Oh, boy.
That is where the sympathy for Florida State kind of ends because the ACC made this bed. Right? Dan, right?
Yep.
The ACC made this.
Well, first off, when they were designing the 4-team, the ACC was a big part of that. Mm-hmm. And we all said, this was covering college football time, you have 5 major conferences and 4 spots.
Makes no sense.
Not sure how that's going to work. And they were like,
how are you going to get Notre Dame in every other year like you want?
And then you have Notre Dame sometimes. And yeah, so there's that. And then just a couple years ago, they would have expanded this thing to 12 this year, but the ACC was one of the teams that delayed that to next year, and now they're paying the price.
Sweet justice.
So, yes.
Just like when they vacate Michigan's title.
Administrative incompetence.
Sweet. Of course, they're not going to get out of the Rose Bowl alive, so that's all right. But so that is CFP people, you're our Geek of the Week, which we kind of agree with. Not exactly.
Shawn wants to scrap it.
You didn't have to cue that up. You want to scrap it too.
What? What are you talking about?
Okay,
You know-
what's the song?
As Bobby Knight once said, if we can just get through this, it'll be over quick.
I don't think that was the exact quote.
Or is that what the
Lean
trooper
back
said with the dry rubber glove?
Lean back and enjoy it.
Yeah, spread them. Bobby Knight.
it's inevitable.
Bobby Knight, by the way, not a
You
new
remember
wave
when Chevy Chase got it in
What?
Fletch?
Are we doing 2 different?
Moon River.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course we do. Anybody who's ever had their prostate checked knows Fletch.
What did you say? Yeah, the whole. Is it using the whole?
Using the
fist?
whole fist doc? Yeah.
The only decent movie he was ever in. Anyway,
This is why we can't get through the show.
ahead,
Everybody's
sorry.
like, let's hurry up. And then there's all these digressions.
Vacation,
Vacation.
where at least he kept his, while driving on a family trip, he kept his flirting to the Christy Brinkley in the car.
He
didn't.
did.
He did get pulled over, though.
I think, yeah,
He
For
did
leaving
get
the dog.
pulled over.
that is true.
I'd have been fine
And
with
they
Beverly
killed the grandma
D'Angelo.
or the
I don't
aunt or
know.
something
I don't
too,
need
right?
Christy Brinkley. She's going to ditch Billy Joel eventually, right? So what chance do I have?
That's Vacation was good.
Yeah,
The
they-
moose says
Christy
you're
Brinkley was
closed.
married
I'd say
to
you're open.
Billy Joel, wasn't
Isn't she
weren't they?
still?
That's what I
don't know.
remember.
No. She ditched him for some guy who goes helicopter skiing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to end
Yeah,
badly.
yeah. No, she's been divorced a few times. But it's always the guy's fault.
Yeah, I guess it turned out she was kind of high maintenance.
Okay.
Didn't see that coming.
Still Christy Brinkley.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
That's what each husband says.
Christy Brinkley and a lot of Botox, I'm sure.
Probably.
This is great. We've gone from let's exploit
we've
student
been all
athletes
over
to
it.
hate women.
We'll be all
No,
over
no, no, don't say that. It's just one woman.
Well, Shawn,
We're hating her.
Shawn, if you ditch 7, 6, or 9, you'll be denying women an opportunity because this week's entry is
More
Nervous Rex.
bangles. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Nervous Rex with the song that I would have said if I looked in the back of your parents' van. I call it Don't Look.
I don't think that she hurt me. I don't think that she just hurt. If it was you, what would you do? Run to the store and buy her lots of flowers. Talk for hours. Maybe something I said once that came back to her today. If it was you, what would you do? How do you think I feel? You say nothing, I'll say something. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Look at me that way. Look at me that way. Maybe something she's reading. Maybe something on TV. If it was you, what would you do? What if I come back later? What's the matter? What's the matter? If I turn the channel, if I count my fingers, if I whisper softly, but the moment lingers, then you'll hear me asking, hear me saying, hear me asking. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Look at me that way. Look at me that way. If it was you, what would you do? Run to the store and buy her lots of flowers. Talk for hours. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Look at me that way. Look at me, don't look at me. Don't look, don't look, don't look at me. Don't look at me that way, don't look at me that way. Look at me, don't look at me that way.
So I just discovered these guys this morning, Nervous Rex. They had one album, came out in 1980. Basically a girl band doing new wave.
I think it was in New Orleans that year.
Nervous wreck.
He's going to get mad at you. He's going to get mad at you.
He just wanted to get out of here. He wants to wrap it up, and now we're in New Orleans. I don't know.
No, that was it.
He's going with Moon Landreau and Moon Belvin at the same time.
Great song, great discovery. What's the feedback?
So I was asking you, who do you think this sounds like? You said REM, which isn't a bad call, but who, when you listen to that, what singer do you think of?
Belinda Carlisle? No?
Maybe. Think CBGB.
I was gonna say CBD.
Not Pretenders. What? Who?
Blondie. Doesn't it sound like early
Oh,
Blondie?
yeah, Debbie Harry, yeah.
But not the music. I was listening to the music. You were listening to the singer.
Listen to the music. You were listening to the little guy in the boat, in the turlet up there. The Tidy Bowl Man, wasn't that his name? He had the little
Tidy Bowl Man.
Yeah.
He's in the bow rider.
You suggesting I was up there urinating on him?
Huh?
I don't know what you're
Tough
doing.
job.
I know you were not listening to Nervous Rex, but anyways, that's room 769.
Tough job
Please
being Tidy Bowman.
send us your suggestions at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. We love your suggestions. And check out Nervous Rex.
I think he'd like some Bam Bam too.
If you don't listen to this album, you are missing one of the great underappreciated works of female rock. I mean, lead singer, bass player. This is a great group.
NERVUS. And then
NERVUS. Yes, Nervous Rex.
That was fun. Good find. Seriously.
So full of shit.
Good song.
No, seriously, it was fun. It reminded me of early R.E.M. The music.
No, nobody believes you though.
Yeah, it's.
I said that off
It's your
the air.
least favorite segment.
You listened for 1 minute
Why
and
are
then
you
you
projecting? Why
participate
are
in
you
your own bowl
projecting?
game.
Oh.
What else
Cue
you
the
got?
feedback music.
What
Oh,
else you
donation.
got?
We have one donation this week, and we do still accept donations, and hopefully we'll actually institutionalize this by having our Patreon set up for 2024. But we had one donation from Tamara who said, thank you for keeping me informed. Please keep up the great work, and I love it when Teresa is a guest. So that was my wife, Teresa Baldus, last week, getting us caught up on all the twists and turns of the Crumbly case. Check out last week's episode, and you will find out, first of all, not only why Shawn was upside down, but you'll find out...
Oh, was I?
You'll find out why one of the Crumbly parents' lawyers may be joining them behind bars. So lots of great stuff. And, of course, we love your feedback. You can send it to us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Mark was saying when we were off mic that we didn't even get to talk about the transfer portal.
Oh, okay. we don't have another 2 hours.
Dan is not going to let us get away. Not Dan Wetzel of the...
Or Dan Wetzel.
I thought it was Wetzel, but,
It's good enough.
Wits, it sounds vaguely...
Everybody
Start
wants to
calling-
get out of here, and then they don't want to get out of here.
Wits.
Just wanted to make fun of you.
Dan Wetzel.
Sounds like vaguely, I don't know.
Yes, ML. Sorry. You've
okay,
lost total
ML.
control of your show today.
It's okay, MK.
Jewish slang for...
M.I. Elric?
He's with Yahoo Sports, by the way.
I like the Letterman crunch of the
Yeah, that's
paper.
good. That's sweet.
That is good.
Right.
That is. And he's got his glasses on now, too, which is it means he's, serious.
Writes a little column about college sports. He's
more of
contributed
a-
to some amazing live video stuff too. With your Aaron Hernandez thing, I love watching
my
that.
God,
That was
yeah.
fantastic. I had no idea that he was so versatile off the field as well. That was one of the many.
A lot going on in Aaron's life.
Many
A lot going on.
reservations.
A lot
He
going
was,
on.
He was
Yeah.
putting on the blue gloves occasionally. Anyway, Dan says college football is getting, not our Dan, not Wetzel, not nobody, different Dan. Says college football is getting gross, fascinating, and sketchy alleged conduct by MSU's new coach, John Smith. I think that's Jonathan. He prefers Jonathan. Aiden Childs is a stud 4-star quarterback at Oregon State who just hit the portal today. While it's supposed to be tampering prior to today, all the crystal balls immediately predicted he's going to East Lansing following Coach Jonathan Smith. The Oregon State orbit is saying Coach Smith already had the MSU job weeks prior to actually resigning, then held Childs out of the Civil War game, Oregon State versus Oregon, on November 24th. OSU lost 31-7. Aiden Childs was inserted for the third possession of every game for Oregon State this season until the Oregon game. Why the change in game plan? To prevent the kid from being injured so he could take healthy young QB and his offensive coordinator, I think he meant, to EL. In other words, plundering OSU before actually resigning from the job.
Well, I mean, at least that's not tampering.
He's
They were
still
on the
going.
They were on the same team then.
This guy's fired
Pretty
up.
scummy behavior after MSU just sacked a scummy coach. At the very least, it was one of our only sacks this season, by the way. At the very least, it probably reveals his true character, and I'd fully expect this guy to drop MSU on a dime to go back to the West Coast. So, first of all, I think it was pretty well known that Smith was talking to MSU and was getting ready to go. But here's the thing with Aiden Childs. He'd already played in 4 games. He was going to burn his red shirt whether he stayed in Corvallis or came to East Lansing. So, yes, I can understand keeping it. It also may be when you put a guy in for the third possession of every game, maybe you don't put him in for the biggest game of the year because if he was that great, you'd leave him in besides one possession every game. So I don't think this is anything unusual. I don't think it's anything particularly scummy. But if you want to say overall that college football is very sketchy, and you've been listening for the last half hour, I think it'd be hard to argue with you, Dan, because college football has become sketchy as hell because of all the money, because of all the TV, because of all the signs being stolen that don't matter, but they hired a guy to steal the sign, so I guess it must have mattered.
All the tampering.
All the tampering.
Always been sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Let's just go back to leather helmets when players died on the field.
Geez, that's a good dark
right?
Think about the little brown jug.
Yeah.
Yes, the water controversy.
They poisoned the water.
They
That's why
poisoned the
Michigan brought their own jug. They poisoned them at Minnesota.
It's been said that Michigan poisoned the water of competitiveness and fraternity and collegiality and true
I would
competitive
agree.
nature. So,
This is it. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd be excited to get a good quarterback.
do we think that anything else is going to come out of this whole Connor Stalions thing? Or is it over? Is it just? Are we done listening to this for the rest of the season now? Can we just concentrate on who they're playing next?
Probably for the rest of the season. But yeah, who knows?
That's funny. Driving back from Indianapolis and the Big Ten championship game, I had sports radio on, and people were calling.
Did Michigan play last weekend?
Well, I mean, they showed up and accepted the trophy from Tony Petitti, which, that was so sweet. That was so sweet watching him fade off the platform. Anyway, what was I said? Oh, driving back, there was sports radio.
You said you want us to wrap up quickly, but now we're getting a travel
Well,
log.
no, it was. I found this really kind of interesting because everybody was yelling about Connor Stalions and cheating and stealing signs until they beat Ohio State. And there were callers to this show. There were two different shows we were listening to who were just apoplectic at the fact that Michigan cheated and now they're going to be in this playoffs. And both hosts were like, nah, nobody cares about that anymore. They just blew it up. Like, no, that was really nothing.
When they got
It's like,
picked,
why
though,
have you been yelling about it for 3 months and now it's nothing?
When they got picked, I got some
I think it's
texts from
still
friends around the
something.
country about. Yeah, they just think of them as cheaters.
But that was
outside the Michigan. That's not going to go away.
The second the NCAA announced an investigation,
Dan's, much more of an authority
Once
than
it
I am.
started, it was
done. People's opinions were made up. It didn't matter what was truth and who knew what and all that.
Yeah, no, they're branded that.
Or
way.
how much of a penalty or how much of a
The
crime.
more Michigan wins, though, it does. It's like with Deflategate and Tom Brady. Like everyone was so fired up at the beginning. Oh my God, this is how Tom Brady is good, and this is they cheat, and this is how they win. And then obviously the balls are getting checked all the time, and he still wins 3 more Super Bowls with 2 different teams, and people no longer said like maybe he was good because he was Tom Brady. So I will think if Michigan wins, it'll help them a little. But people always, I mean, it's college sports. Everyone's just busting chops on everything.
Exactly.
No one's gonna.
Yeah, but it's not mutually
doesn't really
exclusive that Michigan's a fantastic team and that sign stealing gave them an edge. Now, they could have won without it, but they thought listen, this is the bullshit that we got to get past. They thought they needed it. They did it. Nobody made them do it. Obviously, Michigan thought it would make a difference. That's why they friggin' did it.
Well,
So
Connor
to shake
Stalions-
your head and pretend it's
Connor
nothing.
Stalions thought this would give him the edge.
The edge, yeah.
They all steal the signs.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a sign stealing guy. Every team's got sign stealers, and they literally share. It's crazy, the sign stealing community. Like these guys send each other text. Hey, what do you got? Boom. It's like an open secret they all have. Connor Stalions took it on steroids and went over the
An
top.
insane level.
Yeah, but why? I don't know, because he's Connor Stalions. But the idea that, like that's it. But yes, stealing signs, hell yeah. They're trying to steal Alabama signs right now.
Yeah,
They'd be crazy not to.
We all know that's not illegal. It's how Connor Stalions did
Right.
it.
And he did it.
Yeah, well, if for Michigan people argue that it doesn't matter, they're the ones who did it, so they thought it mattered. So
No, I just don't think it was that big of an advantage.
how big
no,
an
but your
advantage?
Cavs are a tremendous advantage.
I could just keep needling them all day.
Being the better team is always the biggest advantage.
Right? Your
Well,
Cavs.
talent, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, Ohio State has
Blake
more talent
Corum.
than Michigan.
Yeah.
So how much of an advantage was that for Ohio State?
I would take your Cavs
More
over
talent.
Blake
Will you
Corum's.
stop undressing me with your eyes? Okay, just to wrap it up, who's in the championship and what's going to happen?
who's in the championship?
Yeah, I want to hear your predictions.
He says,
Who, mine?
I'm not a piece of meat.
Stop objectifying.
Alabama.
If I was, I have too much marbling for you.
Alabama,
Witz
Texas.
is definitely a piece of meat.
Alabama, Texas. Who wins?
Alabama. You can't
stop
beat.
it. Do you ever
can't
watch
beat-
college
You can't
football?
beat Bama twice. Can't beat Bama twice.
I had to pick the other day. It's ridiculous. I picked Alabama by 3, but that's probably wrong.
Who are they going to play?
Oh, and the other Washington. even though Texas is probably more talented. They beat them a year ago in a bowl game as similar teams.
Washington barely beat Stanford.
Washington beat Texas in the.
They all barely beat somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Can you draw us out? So who wins the national championship? Washington or Alabama?
Alabama.
I'd pick Texas the other day, but I go back to, I think we said it, like Michigan hasn't trailed in the second half the whole year. Like, I think people don't give Michigan enough because they never win
they never win a bowl game.
Right.
For sure.
It never pans out for Michigan. They're good, but then they get there and they're not good enough. And so it's almost like you're just kind of gun shy. But I will say this team and this field, this is their shot.
Yeah.
This is their shot.
And also, literally, the field. I think it's part of the reason they chose the Rose Bowl to slow Alabama down a little bit with the turf
and to get as far away from Alabama.
Well, not only that, their fan. That's their biggest alumni base in the country. Is in California.
Get out of New Orleans. They didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of people from California.
Natural grass and all that, and
I think you can throw history out, but Michigan does not have a great track record in the Rose Bowl.
Well, do you know what the difference is? And we don't want to get into football too much, but real quick, this is the fastest team Michigan Harbaugh's had, defensively especially, and they're quick up the middle, and that's traditionally where the SEC has always been so much better than the Big Ten. The beefy guys that can move, and they've got a couple of them. Chris Jenkins is a stud, and their linebackers are fast.
Grant, and
that, and then they've got NFL level. We were
Johnson
talking.
and Sanistrell,
they're really good. We were talking. Yeah, Johnson's probably a first round talent. We're joking about their late round talent. Well, Colson Loveland is a
first round talent.
A matchup nightmare. He's a first round talent. A mobile quarterback and tight ends, that's not a bad combo. So that gives them a pretty good chance.
This man.
Got to have JJ healthy. We can throw while
on the run.
Out.
That's the
his
difference.
Key. Yes.
That because he's great at it.
Well, all the hell too. Will Johnson and Drake Nugent. I mean, that's why you get a month.
Be there.
No, but athletically, they're more equipped to match up at this year.
Okay,
we'll see if they do.
Is it overrated when somebody says, "Look, you've been there twice. You know what to expect." 2 years in a row.
Experience helps maybe a little with the coaching staff, but
not for the players. You're not in a world of wonder. I mean,
that maybe a little bit.
I think it's a little overrated, but
maybe a little bit. But talents. I mean, Colson Loveland will matter more. You know what I mean? They didn't have him against Georgia last year. He was a freshman. I don't know. They don't have great receiver. I mean, the receivers are solid. They're good at sitting down. They're good at finding little seams and crossers. That kind of.
They're average.
They're solid. They're solid. Roman Wilson can help move the chain a little bit. The matchup is the Loveland and to some degree Barner. Yeah.
Still with us, ML?
I am. I just know everybody want to get out of here. Now we're in 5 minutes of Michigan talk. So
sorry.
So the
we're done.
The Orgasmatron continues, and this time Shawn's not driving.
You're the worst.
Orgasmatron. I don't know if I like that better or Bam Bam. Anyway, all right. No, we're done. We're good. Go find some new. New music nobody cares about.
Cyrus, take Shawn out.
What a bunch of assholes. Is anything else?
Quite an experience.
Dan,
thank you, Dan, for coming in for this madness.
Yeah,
it's great to have you here. Having been here once, I don't know.
Insult people. It's great. Just I
don't know how we dragged you out twice. I thought you had more wisdom.
I'm going to start showing up even when I'm not on the show.
And bring your friend Wetzel. Between the two of you, we should get some cogent comments out of it. It's dynamic duo if ever I saw it. Cyrus, you were summoned, but you're not here. But we still.
You can plug Dan's podcast and writing again.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Dan. Always good to have you.
Thank you. I did. A lot of fun. I got a couple plugs. I'm good.
Yeah, good. It's Mark, officially tee him up.
Well, no, that's your job.
Sports Inquirer.
And and on Twitter at Dan Wetzel. W-E. Hi.
Everybody always wants to go until it's time to turn out the lights.
You're never going to live it down.
What about Cyrus?
What about Cyrus?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
What it comes down to is that
the playoff selection committee
had a notion here, and Ed seems to think it's a good idea. We'd like you and
Alabama to play
together.
You had me worried. I thought it was something really.
This is something really. Man, you talking about
leave an undefeated team out. That's
never been done before.
What JC is saying is that there may be some pressures.
The tough, tender, and true story
of a 4-team college football playoff.